Well, how you doing? Another week. I'm coming at you actually from Wisconsin. Went over to the cabin, Wisconsin fishing open this weekend. You might have saw some of my posts. We came out here. I ended up chasing mostly crappies. Caught a ton of nice crappies. Did get some walleyes. Did get some bass. Didn't tangle with anything else with teeth. Yesterday, it was, anyone that was out noticed it was a weather day. The morning was rainy and cold and it was windy all day. It cleared up in the afternoon, evening, ended up being a pretty nice end of the opening day in Wisconsin. Today, however, Sunday, I don't know if you could find a nicer day to be on the water. Absolutely beautiful. It's gonna be in the 70s. It's about midday right now. We went out this morning, did some fishing. I'm doing this report for you. We're gonna go back out later today, you could bet. So maybe, just maybe, some of these tactics I'm talking about will end up producing even better this afternoon as things start to warm up. So let's revert back a little bit to this week in what we did and how we caught our fish, talking more crappie specific in Minnesota. Everything continues to be in the same zone, 5 to 8 feet. Water temps stalled out. We got some cold weather. It was not necessarily a super warm week. Even the days where it was sunny, we had wind. We had 15 mile an hour wind, 20 mile an hour wind. I think I might have saw a stat, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty certain I saw this, that potentially this was the windiest April on record in Minnesota. So I can tell you as an angler and a guide and someone who's been on the water, I would agree with that. I feel like every day we've been fishing in wind, a lot of wind, uncomfortable conditions from that regard. But fish seem to be going, they seem to be biting. A lot of conversation this week on where these crappies are located and how it's been so different than past years. And I think a lot of that contributes to the mild winter, the lack of ice, the lack of snow, a lot of extra light penetration. The weeds just didn't die. So where I'm going with that is a lot of our fish were holding very strong in 5, 8, 9 feet of water in the weeds on what I consider Main Lake. We talked about Main Lake last week. I'm just referencing not up against the bank, not back in boat channels, just main basin, main section of the lake. And that's where a lot of our fish are holding. That held consistent and true even this weekend here in Wisconsin. A lot of our better bites were in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of water, 3, 4 feet down on the tops of these weeds. And these weeds are there. They're present, where in past years they might not be as present. So you have to find different structure. You have to just really focus in on warmer water, banks, docks, shallow cuts, back channels. Not the case this year. So fishing's been good. If you want to crappie fish, this is the primo time to do it. I know our Minnesota fishing opener is next week. Totally get it. We are 6 days away from the Minnesota fishing opener. And obviously you're going to want to chase some walleyes, do the bass thing, catch and release for bass, maybe the pike, target something else. But I'm telling you, and Callie can contribute, right? The crappie fishing is really good right now. Callie's right there behind us, having fun on the dock and goofing off in the boat, which is all part of the fun. The crappie fishing right now is phenomenal and will continue to be for the next coming weeks. They are just starting to spawn. There are females that look like they've swallowed golf balls, some even small, approaching tennis ball size. So the females are starting to really show their eggs. They're going right to the spots they should be. You're starting to get some dark tuxedoed up males being caught. So that stuff's really starting to happen. If you happen to get on these females and these nice fish, the really big plump ones, just let them go. You'll catch plenty of males in the same zone, and honestly get the same level of fish or meat off of a 10, 11 inch male as you do 10, 11 inch female. The girth and the size you see is just eggs, and let them do their thing, finish up this spring spawn. Okay, how do we catch some walleyes and stuff here in Wisconsin, and a precursor to next week? We're fishing swim baits, we're fishing some snap jigging, things like that. We didn't do much of the live bait thing. Again, we probably didn't come fully equipped to target walleyes. I just used what I had in the boat, namely plastics. You know, I'm a plastics guy. That's how we caught our fish. We did get a nice walleye, 21.5 incher on a chatterbait, on a mini stealth chatterbait. Actually destroyed it in shallow water. So what that tells me is they're feeding, they're moving around. You just got to get in front of some of these fish. Two of the plastics that did work otherwise for us, there's a brand new one this year from Mr. Twister. They are adding salt back into some of their plastics. You may have remember the Exude stuff from years ago. So they're bringing salt back in. You're going to see certain connotations like SI. So they're doing 4-inch ringworm. This has salt. We caught some walleyes on this. This is actually a really good worm looking pattern. It's called Carolina Pumpkin, but it looks like a night crawler. The other one that we caught some fish on, the Sassy Swimmer, you heard me talk about a lot last year. There's a variation now called the Sassy Trailer. Works great in the back of a chatterbait, swim jig, whatever. But this is more of your cast and retrieve. This is more of your work and cover, more spot specific. Both of these have caught some fish, and we're tipping them on a drop TG, a tungsten jig head. 1/8 ounce, 3/16 ounce. Those are pretty much the only two sizes we used. We did get some fish on some flukes. That didn't seem to work as well. It seemed like you had to either reaction strike them with something with a paddle tail impulse, or you had to just kind of play with them in front of their face. I know some of my buddies, Drew was out here. He caught some fish on like a Tikka minnow, jig and wrap, target fishing, that sort of stuff. He caught a bunch of walleyes. He did better than us. So they're snapping. Things are starting to happen and fall into play. Water temps, we're looking at 55, 56 degrees right now. It was 38 degrees when we started this morning, believe it or not, and water temps were like 51 on May 5th. So it feels a little cooler than we're used to. However, things are progressing nicely. I bet you we see 60-degree surface temp by the time we leave the water today, because it's going to get just that warm. So what I plan to do next weekend for the Minnesota fishing opener, gonna probably play with some crappies. I'm gonna definitely sling for some bass. I'm gonna have a wacky rig on. I'm gonna have a chatterbait. I'm gonna have a swim jig. I'm gonna do a number of things. I'm gonna continue to attempt to catch a walleye. I'm definitely no expert. I'm gonna be doing some of this stuff, trying to pick apart some structure and fish some of these maybe weed line walleyes. But all said and done, next weekend, I'm probably just gonna go fishing. Just gonna see what bites, go have some fun. It's a great time of year. We'll see what the weather does this week. Looks like it's up and down, decent amount of rain, cool weather again. But I'll tell you what, if you have been fishing this spring, I promise you you're used to it. So otherwise, next weekend, Minnesota fishing opener, I'm pumped up. I think the walleye should go. You're definitely probably gonna catch some pike. We'll see what the bass wanna do. And with all else fails, I'm telling you, we've talked about it for weeks, fish the crappies. The bite's good. It's probably the most consistent bite out there right now is good crappie fishing. So otherwise, have fun, send some pictures, post some pics. I want to see what everyone does on the opener. Be safe, be respectful, have some etiquette. The boat launches are going to be busy. The lakes are going to be busy. Just turn the other cheek and knock it into it and move on. So go enjoy the day, have some fun, and make positive memories. Good luck out there, be safe. Thanks again. We'll see you after the Minnesota fishing opener.